Hi guys, in today's video I'll be reviewing the Hypex Nilai 500 mono kit. These are DIY mono kits which you can order from their website hypexdirect.com. So you can see a pair here which I used to run for my stereo system, so a pair for the left and right channels. So each of this kit it costs 820 euros. So you need, for two, you need 1,640 euros for the pair here. So for the left side, I've opened the cover to show you what's on the inside. And on the right side is the one that is completed. So I'll first show you what it looks like around this item. So this is the back. And you can see on the back there is a IEC connector with the on-off switch, the speaker binding post, the XLR inputs, and this is the switch for the LED lights. Okay, there's also a trigger cable connector here, so you can connect that to a trigger connection to power this on immediately using a trigger connection. Okay, so on the inside you can see there's the Nilai module over here, and on the back is the NS500 power supply. So this is a switch mode power supply which powers to the Nilai module. So let me give you the specifications. So this is actually a Class D amplifier. It runs on the latest topology from Hypex called Nilai. The power output it is 260 watts into 8 ohms and 525 watts into 4 ohms. In 2 ohms it runs at 500 watts. So there are 3 levels of gain. So one of the advantage of this good points is that you can actually adjust the gain for this amplifier. So there's a connector here. You can just switch it. It goes between 12, 22 and 28 decibels of gain. So that's pretty a lot. Yeah. One thing to note here, it's only XLR input connection. So if you want to use your RCA connector, you need to use a RCA to XLR adapter here. Right. So there's also an LED in the front, which I'll show you to the front here. So this in the front panel, it's there's the on-off button over here, and this is the LED. So you can actually control the brightness of the LED that is controllable from the back here. You can control on, off, and half brightness. So in terms of the build quality, it's very good finish. So the casing itself, this is actually a machine aluminum casing. It's not the stamped type of casing which lower price DIY kits tend to have. So this is actually a very well built, very good quality kind of construction over here. And you can see on top, the top plate over here that comes with the perforated hose, which allows some cooling from here. So it doesn't run very hot. It's slightly warm, but it doesn't pose any danger whatsoever. And you can see from here also the front panel is actually quite thick, yeah. And you can see the joints. They are all made from very good tolerances, well machined. You can see the connections and all. So there are no rough edges or sharp edges from this thing. And in terms of the look, I think it's very nice. You won't find that it looks cheap or it looks out of place in a hi-fi rack. Okay. So in terms of comparison with other DIY kits, this is actually one of the best quality and best build out there. So only thing is, comes only in black. So if you prefer to have silver finish, this is only in color choice you have available. Okay, so let me show you a little bit more on the inside. How's the build quality? Okay, so one thing good about this kit, it's been very well designed in terms of the layout. What I mean by that, so in terms of the cabling, you can see compared to a lot of DIY kits, you don't have cables crisscrossing everywhere. So even the ribbon cable is actually able to slide underneath this part. So it's actually well away from the other cables in the middle here. You can see it's well spaced out. There's no crisscrossing of cables over here. So even from the, you can see the quality of the components as well. very good components that's being used over here. Okay, and this is the Nilai kit. Let me turn it around so you can see the speaker connector as well. Okay, so this is how it looks like. The only minor thing which I had comment about is there's a very tight turn from the speaker cable connection here. It has a very tight turn all the way to the outlet from the Nilai amplifier. So it's a little bit of a tight connection. Other than that, all the cable lengths, they're all very well thought of. Nothing is extra and nothing is short. And the layout has been well organized. Yeah. And for this build, I forgot to mention, so this build takes around 1 hour or less. The instructions are pretty easy to follow. And I also have done a video which you can follow me to build. If you need any guidance on that video, you can just follow it. Some of the specifications for this one, the frequency response is from 0 to 70 kilohertz, and signal to noise ratio is amazingly good. It's at 134 decibels. This is a multi-voltage design, so you can use this anything from 100 to 120 volts or 200 to 240 volts, not a problem. Yeah. Okay, let me tell you about the use case, how I've been using this amplifier. So I've connected this directly from my preamplifier to this using the XLR connection, and then from here directly using speaker cables to my speakers. So one thing good I noticed for this amplifier, there is no pop when you turn on the amplifier. It's also instantaneously on. There is hardly any waiting time for it to turn on. There is hardly any warm-up period actually. There's hardly any difference between cold and running it after a while. It's very, very small difference. Yeah. So because this unit actually draws very little power on standby and actually produces very little heat in use, you can actually put it in your cabinet. Of course, you still need the ventilation on top, but compared to a lot of large amplifiers or Class A or Class AB amplifiers, definitely it's much lower in terms of temperature. And in terms of the size, it's actually very compact. If you compare to this is a half-size chassis and even lower than your typical amplifier. So you can actually put a few of this in your cabinet without taking too much space. So in terms of user-friendly Class D amplifiers are much better than your typical Class A or Class AB amplifiers. And I've also connected the trigger inputs to my amplifier, which has trigger outputs as well. So when I turn on the preamplifier, this unit turns on automatically. So that is very useful. Okay, let me talk about the sound quality. Let me first talk about the bass. So the bass for this amplifier is really, really the best part of this amplifier. It has to me, it is very well defined, very deep, very speedy. Some of you might not like it, yeah, because it is not the thick, muddy bass, fat bass that some people might like. But this is a kind where it's very well defined, very, very weighty, but still you can hear the different notes very, very clearly, and you can easily distinguish between the different notes, for example, on a double bass. Yeah. So next is on the mids. I find it to be overall very transparent and clear. And this amplifier doesn't add any particular flavor or warmth. So if you're looking for a warm kind of amplifier, or an amplifier that wants to add some kind of flavor or sound or tone to your system, this is not the kind of amplifier. It is basically super transparent, and whatever you put in, it just produces that on the output. So the dynamic passages and transients are super fast. Nothing much to complain about. It's pretty good. In terms of the trebles and highs, a lot of criticism on Class D is on harshness, or too clean or too sharp or too harsh. But this amplifier does not display those kind of character that used to be something of a negative point for Class D amplifiers. So Class D amplifiers have come a long way, and I didn't find that listening to this pair of amplifier caused any kind of fatigue or too clean kind of sound or harshness. So that's really, really good. Yeah. So kudos to Hypex for coming out with this latest generation. It is really, really impressive compared to a lot of the competition. Yeah. So even when I push this amplifier really hard, I find it was having full control of the speaker drivers. There was no issue about becoming distorted or struggling to drive any of the speakers. So this is the other thing about you want to have this transparent and neutral sound. This is one of the amplifier which you can really try on. Yeah, especially for the price. It is difficult to find something which can perform at this level at this price. Okay, let me talk about the negative things about this amplifier. First thing first, if you are not a fan of DIY or hands-on, or you worry about putting electrical things together, you're not so comfortable with that, there's currently no option for a completely built-up version from Hypex. So you have to either get your friend to do it, or some places they have people who help to construct this amplifier for you. And the other thing is the highly revealing nature of this amplifier, and very transparent. So basically, whatever you put in, it basically just produces that on the output. It doesn't try to sweeten or add any character to the sound. Your other components will become very critical in determining the sound output from this from your system. So the character of your other components will become very critical, right? In terms of the build quality, I have no complaints about the unit itself, other than small thing is the rubber ring on the bottom of the feet. Sometimes that comes out if you try to move it. So just a very, very small complaint on that. Yeah. To sum it up, if you're looking for a pair of monoblock amplifiers that's able to produce really good sound, able to power up any speaker out there while being efficient and compact, and especially for this price, it's far superior to the competition out there. In terms of the build quality, it's much better than those DIY kits that you can find typically in the market. You can see from the construction itself, it's absolutely something that you will be proud to display on your cabinet. This amplifier, it's a very good choice if you want to pair it, for example, with Wim Ultra, Eversolo A8, A6. If you want to use that as your streamer, DAC, preamp, and then link with this and then connect to your amplifier, you get a very good setup, a very, very powerful system which can drive any speaker out there. Yeah. So as long as you're able to build this amplifier, to me, I enjoy building the amplifier. I had a good time building the amplifier as well. It also brings a sense of pride, yeah, when you're actually building this thing. For me, the only thing is your matching electronics will play a very important part on your sound character. This thing drives whatever is out there and brings the character of the rest of your system out to your system. Yeah. So, yeah, compared to more expensive systems out there, let's say, for example, much better amplifier, for example, the Mola Mola Perca, I would say it easily achieves 95% of the performance of the Mola Mola Perca at a fraction of the price. So something for you to consider. And another one that you might want to think, let's say if you want to use your existing Class A or AB amplifier, you really like that kind of sound for your liking, but find that it's lacking of bass. So you might want to consider using this as to supplement and bi-amp your system, using this to drive your woofers. So you can adjust the gain to the gain that you're having on your amplifier and use this to drive your woofers, and then to free up the mids and the tweeters to be driven by your Class A or Class AB amplifier themselves, and you will get a much improved sound quality comparing to upgrading your amplifier. So this is actually considered a very reasonably priced amplifier if you compare to those high-end systems. Alright, hope you have enjoyed the review. I had a good time building this and listening to this amplifier. And thank you for watching, and we'll see you for the next one.